Good afternoon. The fall 2010 Convocation is now declared open. Our fall convocation marks the ceremonial beginning of the educational journeys of the new academic year. I'd like to offer a special welcome to our freshmen and other students who are joining us at fall convocation for the first time in such large numbers. A round of applause to our students. I'd like to offer also a welcome to members of the administration and staff who are in the audience. Delighted you can join us. But I want to welcome back especially faculty colleagues from their summer rest, their summer research, their summer renewal, and to also especially welcome back those who were on sabbatical this past year or this past spring. This year's educational journeymen and women are not just returning faculty, of course. We've hired 32 new faculty and 2 new CLTs. 21 of the faculty are permanent faculty, and 9 are substitutes. And 22 of these total are brand new to York College. Some of our faculty colleagues are absent. Indeed, some are starting in the spring of 2011. But I'd like to introduce them all. I'd like to introduce not only the colleagues joining us from fall 2010, but there were several colleagues who arrived between last convocation and this one, who came in spring of 2010, and I'd like to introduce them as well. What I propose to do is to call each name, discipline, and institution of highest degree, and invite to stand as I call your name. We will hold all the applause until everyone has been introduced. Elizabeth Alter, Biology, PhD, Stanford University. Parisa Pabali, Mathematics, PhD, Stevens Institute of Technology. Roberto Calderin, Teacher Education, EDD, Fordham University. If you're here, you should stand. Arne Christensen is coming in the spring. Biology, University of Massachusetts, Amherst. Kristen Davies, Psychology, PhD, Stony Brook. Maria Pia Di Bonaventura, Biology, PhD, University of L'Aquila, Italy. Deb Chakravarti, and you can stand if you're here, Chemistry, PhD, Oxford. Kwan Ping Chiang, Business, PhD, University of Rhode Island. Nadine Donahue, Nursing, MS Malloy. Ian Hansen, Psychology, PhD, University of British Columbia. Shireen Inayatullah, English, PhD, University of Wisconsin, Milwaukee. Shweta Jain, Mathematics, PhD, Stony Brook University. David Jones, Theater, BFA, Pratt Institute. Jim Heatherly, Speech, BS, Texas A&M. Beverly Horowitz, Occupational Therapy, PhD, Fordham University. Phoebe Kirkham, English, MFA, Brooklyn College. Elgin Klue, African American Studies and Anthropology, PhD, University of South Florida. Joanne Levin, Nursing, PhD, EDD, Teachers College, Columbia University. Kevin Lynch, Physics, Boston University. Tom Marion, MFA, Theater, Rutgers University. Anna Mara, Health and Physical Education, MS, Long Island University. Eric Metcalf, Speech, PhD, University of Massachusetts, Amherst. Phoebe Massimino, Business, City University of New York, PhD. Tom Moore, journalism, MS Columbia University. Tanya Pruitt, movement science, University of Tennessee, PhD. Rebecca Rivera Maestre, social work, City University of New York, PhD. Claire Serrant, journalism, Columbia Master of Science. Marguerite Schneider, business and also new chair of business and economics, PhD, Rutgers University. She's on the platform party. Mary Small, accounting, MS, University of the West Indies, Jamaica. Yolanda Small, PhD, chemistry, Penn State University. James Talte, physics, University of Rochester, PhD. Virginia Thompson, mathematics, Teachers College, Columbia, EDD. Lou Thrall, mathematics, ABD, City University of New York. Radoslaw Wachichovsky, PhD, City University of New York, mathematics. Vivian Wu Wang, PhD, Oklahoma State University. She's coming in the spring for mathematics. We also have two new CLTs joining us this year. Tashmeen Islam, biology, graduate of York, BS. Garth Belcon, BFA from California Institute of the Arts. Let's give these new colleagues a round of applause. Along with our committed staff and administrators, these returning and new faculty will guide the educational journeys of our 7,236 students. As we, faculty, staff, students, pursue and support the educational journeys related to teaching and learning, to research, and to service this year, I ask that we keep three O words in mind: opportunity, ownership, outcomes. I'll just spend 1 minute on some, and I'll confine my remarks in relation to our faculty. I encourage our faculty colleagues to ponder what might be at least one opportunity for you to pursue new this year. Might it be something different in your teaching? Maybe plan an online course for spring of 2011 or for next year. Maybe redesign a course having heard what happens at some of your CETL workshops. Maybe in relation to research, complete the draft chapter you had been working on last year, or complete the draft for the proposal for new grants you will be working on in the summer. But maybe in relation to research, not become simply a member of a panel at a conference, but chair a panel at a conference. Maybe in your research, embrace one of our students as part of your mentorship in undergraduate research. But I think whatever we do on the first O, opportunity, I recommend that we think of it in personal terms. We take ownership for our parts of it. We take responsibility for making the opportunity become realized. And so I would advise, sometimes it's useful not to wait on your department chair to give information, to go seek it out. Find out who the colleagues who have been teaching online courses and how you can benefit from their wisdom. I would recommend that perhaps when you get the monthly newsletter from Sponsored Research, peruse it to see what you might find interesting for your own field, and go and speak to Director of Sponsored Research, Don Hewitt, to get appropriate advice and assistance in moving on. But I would also find it helpful if, as we pursue opportunity and ownership, we think of outcomes. I think we want to identify not only the opportunities and take ownership for them, we want to bring them to finality, we want to have something to celebrate, we want to have something to evaluate. And so, as I end, I offer you a wonderful new academic year. I invite you to think of ways in which you can pursue opportunities, in which you can embrace ownership of some of those pursuits, and ways in which I can help you celebrate at the end of the year having completed projects, having evaluated projects, opportunities, ownership, outcome. Thank you. I'm delighted now to introduce our president, Marcia V. Keyes, the 6th president of York College.
Thank you very much, Provost Griffith, and good afternoon, everyone. And welcome to this academic year 2010 and to our fall convocation. I'm delighted to see all of you, and I'm especially delighted to see our new faculty in the house and our new freshmen and the class of 2014, yes. And we want the class of 2014 to look at us in our regalia and to bear in mind the year 2014 when you will see us in this regalia as you walk across the stage and get your degree. So welcome to you all. Just want to also acknowledge 2 of our foundation members who should be here. I know Dr. Ray Alexander Minter is here. Yes, thank you so much for joining us, Dr. Minter. And Mr. Patrick Lespinas, also a foundation member, is also here. Thank you so much. I want to introduce just a few new members to the administrative team. I'm delighted that we now have a Vice President for Institutional Advancement in the person of Ms. Dolores Swerin. I'd ask her to stand. I'd also like to hold your applause, if you will. Keep standing to introduce Ms. Avril George Robinson, our new Director of Purchasing, Ms. Gwendolyn Harewood, our Deputy Director of Human Resources, Mr. Thomas Jordan, our SEEK Director, and Mr. John Garris, the Academic Affairs Director of the EOC. If you're here, please stand so we can give you some applause. It looks like you're it, Dolores, so thank you. This year, although we do not know what the list looks like yet, as a result of an early retirement initiative, some individuals who are part of the York family will exercise the option to retire. And while that list is in formation, and indeed people do have the option to go, and they have the option to change their mind and stay, so I don't want to start naming names, but I think there is one name that I can name because she has indicated that she will retire. She's not on stage today, but I wanted to do a public acknowledgement of Vice President Jones, who will retire from York after 37 years in the university, CUNY, serving at BMCC, and here at York, we wish her good health and happiness in her retirement. I'd like to have all the members of the class of 2014 to stand and to stay standing while I talk to you for just a couple of minutes. Please stand. So, a word to you. You are 1,117 strong. 909 of you came in as new non-SEEK freshmen, and 198, we just missed it by 1, guys. We wanted 199 SEEK freshmen, and we just missed it by 1, but 198 is a very good number. We thank you for selecting York for this phase of your academic journey. We welcome you and thank you for the confidence that you have placed in us. During the course of my speech today, you will get a sense as to where the college has gone over these last 5 years and where we hope to go during the time you're with us. We at York look forward to the year 2014 as you look to graduate. And as you graduate in that year, you will join a fabulous cohort of alumni, people like Dr. Andrew Campbell, who now serves on our foundation board and who recruited 3 members of the graduation class of 2010 into his PhD program at Brown University. He's an alum who is giving back. Or you may be like Judge George Grasso, former Deputy Commissioner of the NYPD, now a New York State judge, whose son Joe is also a student here at York. Or you may be Dr. Deborah Persad, MD, a clinician and award-winning research in pediatric AIDS at Johns Hopkins University. Or you may be Jimmy Siegel, a successful author, advertising executive, and campaign strategist. But today you are the freshman class, and in addition to the outstanding academic instruction by intellectually gifted and committed faculty that you will face in your classrooms and in your labs, we also ask that you be engaged outside of the classroom. That is why we have prepared for you this special first ever Wow Week, Week of Welcome, along with our ambassadors, the Cardinal crew. Yeah, good, got it. Cardinal crew, okay. We've prepared this Wow Week for you, this week of welcome. I hope that you've attended some of the events. I hope you were at the Cardinal Mixer. I hope that you attended the comedy show. I know you've read the book and answered the questions, right? Outcasts United, because you know we're going to be talking about it all year. And I know I saw some of you out on the quad listening to our big band, and I even saw some of you dancing as well. I encourage you to participate fully in the life of the college. Connect with your teachers. Connect with your peers in the classroom. Get to know one or two of your fellow students. Get their phone numbers. Get their Facebook addresses. Stay in touch. Connect as well outside of the classroom, in the labs, in undergraduate research, in peer study group, in the college newspaper, in student government, in theater, and so many other options. Seek academic help when you need it. As E.M. Forster says in Howard's End, we ask you, only connect with York. And I ask that you do this as you go through your 4 years here and keep your eye on the prize. Class of 2014, welcome. Now you may be seated. Let me now turn to the part of the address that tells you a little bit about the state of the college. Many of you know that on February 14th, 2005, yes, it was Valentine's Day, I arrived as your 6th president. On completion of 5 years of service in spring 2010, I was evaluated by the chancellor, by the trustees, and the college community. Indeed, many of the people in this audience participated in that evaluation process. I'm pleased to report that Chancellor Goldstein and the trustees saw sufficient progress in the achievement of our institutional goals to renew my term of office for another 5 years. And what were those signs of progress? Thank you. Thank you. Let me share with you 5 signs of progress. Indeed, when I prepared my self-assessment, I proposed 10, as David Letterman does. But we don't have time for 10 today, so I'm going to give you what I consider the top 5. The first is that we have grown our enrollment and we have improved the academic preparation of our incoming freshmen. And we have done that with a deliberate approach. Today, as you know, the freshman class of 2014 2010, excuse me, the graduating class of 2014 has been admitted with a minimum high school average of 78, with the passing of all of the basic skills tests, and with a minimum SAT score of 800. Now, what you need to know, ladies and gentlemen, is that back in 2005, we did not have a baseline. We established the first baseline in 2006 at 75 high school average, and 3 years later, we moved it up. And what we are finding with our freshmen is that the story of this growth and the academic preparation is really told in these numbers. In 2006, some 44% of the non-SEEK freshmen came to us with a high school GPA of 80% or higher. Today, 61% of those freshmen come to us with an 80 high school average or higher. Put another way, ladies and gentlemen, the students in this freshman class with at least a GPA of 80, which is 557, the number you see on that bar chart, far outnumber the whole freshman class of 2006, which is 483. And so what you see is as we have grown our numbers, we have also grown the academic preparation of our students. Now our task is to retain these students, and you have them here, and to graduate them in 4 years. Item 2, faculty renewal and diversity. One of the true joys of my job as college president is the opportunity to influence the hiring of bright, talented faculty to join our intellectual community. In the last 5 years, with the strong leadership of Provost Griffith and the team effort of the chairs of our academic department, we have recruited and appointed over 80 new faculty, and now from a low of 164 or so in 2006, we have 214 full-time faculty currently working here at York, teaching, conducting research, conducting scholarship, and mentoring our students. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is a high achievement. We are reaching a tipping point. No harm, folks who've been around longer than 5 years, but we're reaching the tipping point where the new faculty will begin to outnumber the old faculty. Old only in terms of time on task, okay? Nothing about seniority, etc. What is wonderful about our recruitment of our new faculty is that they have come from places very similar, if you will, to where our students have come from, all around the globe, from Australia, from Bangladesh, from Canada, from China, India, Morocco, Nigeria, Pakistan, Puerto Rico, Iran, Argentina, France, Guyana, Aruba, Poland, Italy, Algeria, to name a few. And of course, they have come from many states across the United States and right here from New York and even from Jamaica, Queens. They have come prepared with terminal degrees. They have come prepared in interesting and diverse disciplines, and we look forward to all of the contributions they will make over these years. We have also managed, ladies and gentlemen, to maintain ethnic diversity as well as gender diversity, and that is no small feat, and we indeed at York are proud of the diversity of our faculty members. academic programs, item 3. A third point of pride for us over these 5 years is the work that we have done together to improve the academic quality that we offer our students. We have also worked at diversifying our programs. In the early years of my tenure, back in February of 2005 and March 2005, I became fully aware that this would be a bedrock commitment. We were faced at that time with navigating a number of accreditations. This is where individual certifying agencies from various disciplines come in to certify that what we are doing meets the national standard. We were facing nursing accreditation, teacher education, physician assistant, social work, occupational therapy, medical lab tech. We were also facing the huge Middle States accreditation. All of that was accomplished with efficiency and accomplished successfully, and indeed, we're going into another round. Internally as well, in addition to assuring accreditation, we also improved quality by establishing outcomes assessment as a core value, adopting standardized syllabi and exams, revising curriculums, and I know Dr. Fishman and Dr. Letney can testify to the volume and seriousness of the work that has been conducted in the curriculum committee. We have also, of course, diversified offerings by launching the first aviation program in CUNY and long awaited at York. It's been launched, and this year we graduated our first class. Additionally, we launched a very robust journalism program, a small pharmaceutical science program, and a highly in-demand generic nursing program, which is really about to take full bloom as we prepare the necessary labs and as we have just hired a new director, Dr. Lavin, to help us lead the way. We have also, of course, assisted in making these course offerings come alive as we've restructured departments. And some of you who were here back in 2005 remember that occupational therapy, which is now on its own as its own department, was at one time with another department. Health professions is a standalone. The natural and applied science department used to exist. Now we have 3 distinct departments: biology, chemistry, and earth and physical sciences. And of course, you will see from these flags here that we've also provided an identity for our institution beyond the large college into schools by establishing 3 schools: the School of Business and Information Systems, the School of Health and Behavioral Sciences, and the School of Arts and Sciences. Item 4, physical plant. Alumni and visitors who come back to visit after a period of absence from the college often remark that today York is a much more attractive place to work, to study, and to visit. While we have always been blessed by great geography, we are in a good location. We have sometimes felt that our buildings, very adequate buildings, but a little bit expansive, a little bit cold, not so friendly. During the last 5 years, with the help of some of our legislators, Assemblywoman Cook, Borough President Helen Marshall, Councilman Leroy Comrie, and recently deceased Councilman Tom White, and with strong leadership from the administrative team, Jerry Posman, Ron Thomas, and Noel Gamboa, we have really made some significant changes to mitigate those first impressions. from landscape improvements, planting of trees, developing affinity spaces, developing that renovated child development center out of St. Monica's Church, the opening of the Illinois Jaquette Performance Space, the very well utilized Starbucks Cafe, well, it's Cardinal Cafe, with Starbucks as the caterer. Student lounges. When we first put those chairs out, the students looked at them. They didn't sit. They said, "Those are for us?" We said, "Yes, these are for you. Sit, lounge, enjoy, converse, etc." The refurbishing of the dining room, the refurbishing of the atrium, the naming of the flags. The flags were there, but they weren't named. You name it, we have made changes. I think the biggest change of all, the most impactful change of all, is the one I'd like to put up on the slide, and it's the one that our students, the student government of 206, did some research, discovered that we could do better in our library. They went into their own reserves and committed $250,000, which they asked the college to match. And what you see on the slide is a look of the before and after. Those of you who have come recently don't know the before. You only know the after, and that's to the good. And this is what we've wrought. Item 5, funding. Stability of funding, in fact, growth in funding, has been a very, very important element of our success over these last 5 years. We would not have been able to do the kind of work we've done had we not had the investment of CUNY in York College's business plan, through which we were able to develop a strategic partnership to deploy state funds, tuition, fundraising dollars, FDA dollars, rental dollars, research foundation dollars, and continuing education dollars to climb out of an initial deficit. But the significant factor, ladies and gentlemen, to these and other achievements has been the steady growth of our tax levy budget. Our total tax levy budget in 2005-2006 was $38.2 million. 38.2. In the year that we just completed, 2009-2010, and our numbers are not all in, and you can always check with Jerry to correct me if I'm wrong. But the number I have, Jerry, is 53.9 million was the number we ended with last year. But just track that. 38.2, 205, 206, or 206, 207, to 53.9. A significant growth. And it is because of that growth that we were able to accomplish the goals that we accomplished in the 5 that I have listed. So, ladies and gentlemen, as we close that time, those 5 years, we look back and say some good work has been done, and we were fortunate to have good funding in order to do that work. And those of you who are in the audience, faculty members, staff, and so on, who are around, maybe you have some other items that you think really were stronger than the ones that I've listed, but these were my top 5. As we move forward, we will have our eyes on the prize of some big goals. But I must tell you, ladies and gentlemen, that in the short run, as we look to this year and the next, we will be facing some fairly sobering reality. The good news that we can start with is very, very strong enrollment. I've already talked about our freshman class. And our overall enrollment this year is at a head count at 7,236, and that is good news. But that good news is very quickly eclipsed by what I consider the bad news, although Jerry considers it the other news. You can choose your own description of our budget. As I mentioned earlier, we've grown from a 38.2 to roughly a 53.9 million budget over the last 4 or 5 years. But we cannot expect, under the current conditions, that growth will be the norm. In fact, given the information that I have, we have already this year in CUNY been given an $84.4 million reduction by the state. For the last 2 years, the reduction has been something in the realm of $205 million reduction. For York, for us at York, it translates to about $1.2 million reduction. But what is even more daunting is the data that is projected for New York State. New York State currently estimates shortfalls in the billions in the outgoing years. Year 1, 8.2 billion shortfall. Year 2, 13.5 billion shortfall. Year 3, 16.6 billion shortfall. That's for New York State. And of course, CUNY and York are part of the state system, and so we will be impacted. How? We do not yet know. But the bottom line for us is that we will likely be functioning with less, and so we will need, during this year, to take some fairly belt-tightening kinds of activities in order to assure that as we go forward this year, that we end in a balanced budget. So ladies and gentlemen, especially those of you on the staff and the faculty, I am asking you to understand the condition that we're working in unless there is some kind of relief that comes once there's a new governor, whoever that may be, once there's a new state legislature, whoever they may be, and once those decisions are made. But right now, the outlook is not particularly good. Notwithstanding, we're an institution of higher learning. We must push ahead. We must look to the future. We will continue our strong programs. Our students are in place. We will continue to plan for the future. And the 2 items that I want to leave you with are the 2 items around our strategic plan and our master plan. Because I've given you the other news of the not-so-good budget, but I'd like to give you some hopeful news of our strategic visioning and our master plan. During the course of last year, some faculty members, some administrators, some students, and some staff spent some time visioning on where we want to be as an institution in 2015. I'd like to remind everybody in the audience that you can get a full detail of the strategic plan on the college's website under the President's Initiatives headline. But I just wanted to share with you for the moment the language of our vision, some of the language of our vision. York will be a transformative urban institution and cultural hub. Our mission statement is up on the web. Our values are on the web. And some of the initiatives that we will pursue over the next 5 years are there. And a key centerpiece of these initiatives will include the achieving of our vision of the small, student-centered college. A key component that we will want to pursue because you have told us, our graduates have told us, some of our veteran faculty have told us that this is the element of York that is so special. Students have repeatedly valued this aspect of the York College experience. And what we want to do by the year 2015 is to make the occasional experience of some students the common experience of all students. I'm pleased, for example, that on my first Open Friday 2 weeks ago, I had 2 very good examples of 2 students who came to see me who offered testimonials on this student-centeredness. One student said that he was particularly impressed by the work of Ms. Dawn Roberts Simple, a geology professor, whom he credits with helping him remain in school through a very difficult time. With her support and his own decision to quit his job, his grades, he said, skyrocketed to a 3.74 GPA. I also heard from a third-year student in social work, and her comments were about the registrar's office. She said she had a difficulty during the summer, and I quote, "The registrar," meaning a member of the registrar's office, "showed me the utmost respect. And those name tags," she said, "they're awesome, the ultimate in accountability." So that kind of feel, that kind of connectedness is what our strategic plan is hoping to achieve over the next 5 years. And I just want to also thank the members of the Strategic Planning Committee for the work that they've done. And I urge you, ladies and gentlemen, to take a look at the strategic plan because we'll be taking it through to the Senate for approval. Finally, our master plan. I consider the master plan, which is building a new building, students, as your college's big, hairy, audacious goal. Those of you who've been around York for a long time know that we haven't had a master planning exercise in 25, maybe 30 years. In fact, those of you who've been around might think of the master plan like the Beckett character in Waiting for Godot. You know, we've been waiting, and we've been waiting. And we've never gotten that promised student center building, right? Well, I have it on good authority, ladies and gentlemen, that it's really coming. And I have it on good authority that by the end of this fall, we should be going to the Board of Trustees for approval. And the Academic Village and Conference Center, which will be located west of 160th Street, will create a sense of vitality for us in a new state-of-the-art learning center. We will locate, as we are now thinking, the School of Business in that facility. We will locate a number of student-centered activities there, spaces for student government, spaces for admissions, and the like. And we will also build into it a state-of-the-art conference center that will not only serve the college community, but it will also do outreach to the community at large. We will also be working to support the concept that is now on the books at CUNY Central to develop the CUNY School of Pharmacy at York College. And that will also require effort through the master plan. We will take a look at the academic core building and re-engineer the work there. And we will also conceptualize an appropriate campus location for our Queens High School for Science, as well as a partnership that we hope to develop with appropriate industries related to our work with the FDA. So the big, hairy, audacious goal for the next 5 years, ladies and gentlemen, is to achieve the master plan and to begin to work on a new facility that will house the academic work that we do here at York. This is a rendering. This is not necessarily what it will look like, but somebody has already gone ahead and done this work, and I wanted to share it with you. So as we face our next 5 years together, it will be a time of reality, yes, but I am also convinced it will be a time of hope. There is hope, certainly, as we look at the faces and as we interact with our freshman class. There is hope as we look towards our new faculty and the work they will do to re-energize what we do here. There is hope as we look to becoming more student-centered and making it typical for every student to have that kind of experience. And there is hope as we look to a transformative space that will allow York to fulfill our wildest dreams. So as I close, I ask the York College community to be reminded of the survivor in the Adrienne Rich poem of the same name. Like her, I ask us to live now, not as a leap, but as a succession of brief, amazing moments, each one making the next possible. Thank you, and have a great year.
This year we begin a new tradition at our convocation, a tradition that allows us to recognize and to reward an outstanding member of our senior faculty. This faculty will be known from now as the Convocation Professor. He or she will have duties assigned for which he will get no pay, except, thank you. And it will be a position held until the succeeding convocation. I'm delighted to introduce to you the nominee, the selection of President Keyes of our inaugural Convocation Professor. I'll take the liberty of just giving a truncated introduction of Howard because you will get at the end of Convocation the text of his speech where his full biography, and a very nice picture, I might add, of him appears. Howard did both undergraduate and graduate work at the University of Chicago. He joined the faculty at York in 1969 while still completing his PhD, which happened in 1975. Over the years at York, Howard has designed and introduced and taught a variety of courses in philosophy. But he also sought the opportunity to extend his own educational perimeters, and in 1977 then, he began studying at the Center for Modern Psychoanalytic Studies in Manhattan, where I'm told he learned to use emotional communication in the classroom. We'll see if he uses it here when he speaks. But interestingly, Howard was not only a student when he was at the Manhattan Center. He was also book review editor for a journal called Modern Psychoanalysis. Beyond his engagement there, Howard also has the honor of being invited to write the introduction to something called Richard McKennon, Freedom and History and Other Essays. Richard McKennon was his mentor at Chicago. Those of us who've been here, and I've only been here now beginning my 4th year, but we all know of Howard's extensive service to the college. Among other things, serving as department chair in history and philosophy for 16 years, serving in the college senate, serving in the charter revision committee, serving, among other things, currently in the Gen Ed task force. Howard is married to Linda Bernstein, who I saw someplace in the corridor, and they have 2 wonderful children, Raphael and Ariel. I'm delighted to introduce Howard.
Thank you, Professor. Well, it's too late to change your mind now. Thank you, President Keyes and Provost Griffith, for this extraordinary honor of inviting me to be first Convocation professor. It is a special privilege to address the whole community and to inaugurate a tradition of annual Convocation talks. I extend my welcome to the faculty, in particular to the new faculty members and the new students, for whom this is an introduction to the college community as a whole, to our superb staff, and to our administrators, all of whom support our raison d'etre, the pursuit of knowledge, and the leading forth, the education of our students. When I first came to York College, Richard Nixon was President of the United States. John Lindsay was mayor of New York, and Dumont Kenney was president of the college. I was not sure that I would stay, so I chose the exportable pension fund. I have decided to stay. I would like to introduce two faculty members who were there when I came, in fact, who were there from the very beginning and therefore are called founders, who are still full-time faculty members teaching here at York College. They're in the front row, Professor Parmet of History and Professor Hux of English. So much for sharing. Now, at the start of my 41st season, I want to share with you some thoughts about what good education means. My undergraduate and graduate education at the University of Chicago made me sensitive to the values that inform this talk, each of which, paradoxically, embraces what is customarily thought of as dichotomous, even oxymoronic. Elite education for a democratic community. Perpetuation of tradition for new learning. Teaching as character change so that students can become themselves. Acquisition of common arts for the sake of specialized research. Life as education, and education as life. I think of education for life as grounding abstract thought in concrete action. This removes the opposition between fixed tradition and revolutionary change, since tradition is maintained only by renewal, and the new emerges from the existing. Similarly, the rigid opposition between individual and society is replaced by the idea of a community that fosters the healthy actions and beneficent growth of its members. The life of such a community is education. Intellectual excellence had traditionally been thought of as limited to a few, perhaps only sages and saints. Now, higher education not only affords opportunities to know things that are useful, but aims as well at cultivating the humanity of a concrete person. To the moral lessons with which we were catechized in our formative years, higher education adds understanding, and with that, the possibility of change and improvement. All education is activity for the sake of truth, and all utility is for the sake of humanity. With these at stake, need we ask why students and faculty ought not to plagiarize or to miss classes? But even if our work was less important than it is, even in its most quotidian moments of checking attendance and submitting grades, we must regard it as a calling. I recollect being on an 86th Street crosstown bus with a driver reminding his passengers of the cultural institutions available when we reached Fifth Avenue, and then again after crossing the park when we reached Central Park West. He did so in a manner of such exquisite respect for us and for the culture of the city that many of the passengers burst out in applause while 2 or 3 shouted, "Hallelujah." In my first years at York, most of my teaching was a 2-semester course based on courses taught by Richard McKeon at the University of Chicago, Ideas and Methods 1 and 2, which read various authors in the natural sciences on motion, space, time, and cause, in the social sciences on freedom, power, and history, in the humanities on imitation, imagination, and expression, and on revolutions in all 3 fields. When you have more than a few minutes, I'll tell you about it. Well, Professor McKeon played a special role in the creation of York College. He directed President Kenny's and Professor Hartenberg's dissertations. I was working on mine with him. The York College reincarnation of his Ideas and Methods course was part of a large set of general education requirements, most of which were interdisciplinary and based on the University of Chicago curriculum. Its purpose was philosophical, purpose of the course, in the sense of seeking the implications of different views of the nature and organization of the sciences. The form this curriculum took, however, did not suit the spirit of the times. The anti-war protests and the civil rights movement led many students in this country to think that their studies were not relevant to their lives. After it was decided that York College would be built in Jamaica, Queens, President Kenny left the college. An acting president told us that we needed to change the gen ed curriculum, and that, although he did not know what the new curriculum would be, he did claim to know that the trivium and the quadrivium ain't where it's at. He was referring to what in the Middle Ages came to be called the 7 liberal arts. I raised my hand and said that although I agreed that the curriculum needed to be changed and that I did not know what it should be, I was confident that if it were any good, it would be the trivium and the quadrivium. In my defense, I want to say that the trivium is the arts of grammar, rhetoric, and logic, that is, of interpretation, invention, and inference. And the quadrivium includes mathematics and astronomy, perennial activities and subjects. It is hard to imagine what education would be without them. But my remark was a slap in the face of a newly appointed acting president trying to make an impression on his faculty at a convocation, which raises the question of how one ought to disagree with and also correct people. In those days, I enjoyed being the one who, in a committee or Senate meeting, would rescue the group, not to mention Truth and Goodness, from some obnoxious or aggressive person by my own brand of verbal aggression. May I remind you that our word polemic is from the Greek polemikos, meaning of or for war. That was before I came to think about aggression and its destructive and constructive uses in the study of psychoanalysis, and before I recognized in Socrates an extraordinary teacher who practiced the idea that the good is the aim of all things, all actions, and notably of the actions of a teacher. When a person is in error of thought or behavior, pointing this out with derision, the way a purposely humiliating army sergeant might do, may perhaps be instructive to others, but it mostly hurts and angers the target. In the classroom, the guiding principle should be to help the student to do better. The question should be, especially when we wish to criticize, and often we are angry when that wish is strong, what is the purpose of my actions? How will they help the student? This is not student-centeredness, if that term means sacrificing learning to good feelings. It is simply good, effective human relations. An example, if not of nation building, at least of community building. And the means are not always sweet. Socrates shows us, in his exchange with Thrasymachus, how an obstreperous, arrogant, threatening person can be helped to listen and open his mind to others' ideas without losing one's temper or gratifying one's aggressive impulses. And yet Thrasymachus finds the lesson to be pretty rough and is at first moved to say that Socrates is unfair. Our students, too, will recognize our goodwill if we truly teach for their sake rather than to show them up or to show ourselves off. And they will recognize our fraudulence if we do not make demands on them, and the emptiness of their own endeavors when they choose processing over education and make their way without the strenuous effort and alteration of character required by real learning. Although the protesters of the 1970s often had a too narrow view of relevance, they were right that all learning ought to be in the service of humanity, especially if we consider that the pursuit of truth includes the pursuit of who we truly are, not taking our common humanity to be merely the lowest common denominator of human needs, important as they are. Before the Roman idea of humanitas became the plural humanities as a result of the Renaissance emphasis on subject matter, all human knowledge was regarded as part of the humanities, the study of the achievements of humanity. It is a great service to help a person recognize in himself the presence of something shared with Al-Farabi, Shakespeare, Jane Austen, Newton, Marie Curie, Chinua Achebe, and Martin Luther King Jr. Much as a child yearns to be like a great athlete, dancer, or musician that he has seen. We continue the tradition at York of thinking how to do that. I encourage you to engage in the process by which the Gen Ed curriculum is developed so that we can get the best education of our collected experience can produce. In my view, and I remain unhesitant to share my views, though now less truculently, I hope, than when I was much younger, the new Gen Ed requirements proposed by the task force would provide a more integrated education for our students than the current core, showing them the whole range of human achievements and helping them to integrate these into their understanding of their own humanity. They would, in the same way, help the faculty to understand what they mean when they advocate for a life of reason. Making us a more cooperative, unified faculty. I believe deeply that it is time to return to the interdisciplinary model to reinforce the value of the whole person, the well-educated human being who can have useful thoughts about problems that involve science and the diversity of peoples, values, philosophies, and religions. We want our students to be prepared to specialize in a major and a profession, but prepared in a much wider sense for life itself. When his brother Epimetheus, whose name means hindsight, failed to prepare human beings as Zeus had ordered him to do, the job was given to Prometheus, whose name means foresight. Prometheus got himself in terrible trouble, however, by stealing fire from Zeus and giving it to us, along with the arts of politics. Fire symbolizes the use of nature for human purposes, but it also symbolizes nature as energy that we aspire to understand, including political energy. The arts of politics refer to behaviors that only some people do, since many refuse even to vote. But we and our students must recognize that we are all political, since we must live together and cooperate with each other. We get the politics and leaders that we deserve when our only concern is ourselves. Politics as self-consuming energy, a terrible fire. Thank you for listening. Thank you who listened. Actually, that's the way it's written. For doing so. On the other hand, those whose minds wandered may thank me for giving you time to relax and to think of things more congenial to you. And finally, this. Please do not hesitate to invite me back in the next 20 years or so. As the great Sugar Ray Robinson said, the legs are shot, but the punch is good. Welcome to York College.
I want to hazard a guess that you will agree that President Keyes made an outstanding selection in naming Howard Rottenberg inaugural Convocation professor. The text of Howard's speech will be available as soon as we leave this auditorium. Delighted now to introduce Jonathan Quash for a musical interlude.
Lying in my bed, I hear the clock tick and think of you, caught up in circles. Confusion is nothing new. Flashback, warm nights, almost left behind. Suitcase of memories, time after time. Sometimes you picture me, I'm walking too far ahead. You're calling to me, and I can't hear what you've said. You say second hand unwinds. If you're lost, you can look and you will find me. Time after time. If you fall, I will catch you. I'll be waiting. Oh, time after time. If you look and you lost, you can find me. Time after time. If you fall, I will catch you. I'll be waiting. Time after time. After my picture fades and darkness has turned to gray, watching through windows, wondering if I'm okay. You say go slow, I fall behind. The second hand unwinds. If you're lost, you can look and you will find me. Time after time. If you fall, I will catch you. I'll be waiting. Oh, time after time. If you're lost, you can look and you will find me. Time after time. If you fall, I will catch you. I'll be waiting. Time after time. Time after time. Time after time.
Wonderful, 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 Jonathan Quash. Jonathan is both director of our men's initiative and an adjunct professor of music. Not a round of applause for Jonathan. I'm delighted now to introduce Ahnaf Alam, president of the student government, to bring greetings to our freshmen.
Good afternoon, everyone, and greetings to you, President Keys. First, I'd like to welcome you all at York College Annual Fall Convocation. My name is Ahnaf Alam, and I am currently serving as the Student Government President 2010 and 2011. Before explaining the function of student government, I would like to recognize my fellow senators who spend their valuable times working for you and all students at York. I ask the senators present today to please raise and recognize yourself. Student government work as a link between students and administrator. We raise our voices on behalf of students. As a student leader, we always ready to listen your concerns and work on your issues. If you have any issues, please let us know. Our office is located in the main building 104. Please let me strongly encourage you to become active members of York by perhaps joining a club or running student government during our election in the spring, and exercising your rights as a student. It's our great pleasure to have you all at York. I wish you good luck for upcoming semester and throughout your careers. Hopefully, we'll work together to have a wonderful academic year. Thank you.
Thank you, Ahnaf. One of the initiatives proposed by the Freshman Year Experience Committee is beginning this year particularly since we're inviting in robust numbers of freshmen, beginning this year, the presentation of a freshman pledge and as a response, a provost pledge. I'm delighted to introduce Dean Gibson to offer the freshman pledge.
Thank you, Provost, and welcome, class of 2014. Yeah. I have the honor of officially making all of you Cardinals. So please stand and join me in reciting the freshman pledge. Cardinal crew members, please assist. Okay. The pledge is located within the Convocation program. I pledge, this is the time where you're gonna recite with me. Okay, thank you. I pledge to sincerely commit myself to 5 principles. I will always give my best effort to my coursework and seek assistance when appropriate. I will always uphold the highest ethical standards in everything that I do. I will always pursue opportunities for personal development and civic engagement. I will actively participate in college programs and services. I will always be a devoted and responsible citizen of York College, my community, and my nation. Now, if you commit yourself to these principles, say I do. Congratulations, you're now Cardinals.
Two quick things for the students. One, if you can tell Professor Ruttenberg what a provost is, he will give you $100. And two, I will be making the pledge in my capacity as provost, but for the benefit of our students, I'm also a full professor of political science, and I don't feel compelled to ask the faculty to stand. We will match your best effort in your coursework with our own commitment to teaching and learning in and out of the classroom. We too will uphold high ethical standards in our tasks related to teaching and learning, to research and to service, to you, to the college, and to the community. We will assist you in your efforts at personal and professional development and in civic engagement. And finally, we will serve as role models for you as you complete your education at York and begin life after college. Welcome to York. We move towards the end of the program, but there's an important part which President Keyes has in recognizing and rewarding members of our faculty and our staff for outstanding work in scholarship and research, outstanding work in service. Okay. President Keyes.
Thank you very much. Audience, how has it been so far? Students, have you liked this? Yes? Good. Wonderful. Good. Because, you know, we tried it last year and it wasn't quite as rich as this, and it's getting richer. And we're really doing this both for the benefit of the permanent members of York, like us, the faculty, the staff, but we're really also doing it for your benefit. So we really need your feedback that you're liking this. So it is my great pleasure to now present the awards. And I would like to start with our scholarship awards. Excuse me a minute. Provost, you're going to read the text.
The first award for scholarship goes to Dr. Ruel Desamero. And while Ruel joins the president, let me say a little bit about his scholarship and research. Ruel has demonstrated research, scholarship, and leadership in many areas. For example, he became the director of the MARC program, succeeding in meeting its goals and objectives, which entail recruiting and mentoring students, while at the same time he was directing his MBRS grant. In terms of grants, this past year he received an NIH grant for over $460,000 for a 4-year study relating to enzymes. Ruel has published at least 3 peer-reviewed articles of original research in the last 2 years, while mentoring a graduate student and 8 undergraduate students, including students in the summer research program and the inaugural CUNY-wide undergraduate research program. Since coming to York, Dr. Desamero has mentored more than 35 students. His students, as part of that mentoring, present their projects at MBRS conferences, AMP conferences of the American Chemical Society. Dr. Desamero also holds appointments at the CUNY Graduate Center, the Albert Einstein School of Medicine, and the CUNY Macromolecular Assembly Institute. I'm reliably informed that Ruel is getting a large check, so if you see he's offering you to buy wine, just take him up on it. The second award goes to Dr. Beth Rosenthal. And while Beth comes to the stage, let me tell you a little bit about her. She's a professor of social work in the Department of Social Sciences in the School of Health and Behavioral Sciences. Ruel is in chemistry in the School of Arts and Sciences. Dr. Rosenthal's research focuses on stresses and psychosocial outcomes among older adolescents and on resilience factors that protect older adolescents from negative outcomes of stressors. Her research has been funded by several PSC CUNY grants, as well as by 4 NIH grants, the current one for $472,212 running through 2013. In the last few years, her research has been published in Adolescence, Journal of American College Health, Journal of Aggression, Maltreatment and Trauma, among other peer-reviewed journals. This past year, Beth presented her research findings at a Provost Lecture Series, the Eastern Psychological Association, and in Ireland. Considered among the leading social work researchers in undergraduate social work programs nationally, Dr. Rosenthal has mentored more than 24 students in multiple disciplines. Like Ruel, she holds an appointment at the CUNY Graduate Center. The next award is for service, and it goes, the first of those 3 awards goes to Miss Carrie-Ann Paris David. Carrie-Ann is admin assistant in the Department of English in the School of Arts and Sciences. Let me embarrass her while she comes up to the president. Carrie-Ann, known throughout the college as a very efficient office manager who coordinates the activities of over 26 full-time members of the faculty in English and numerous adjunct faculty members. With her support and organizational skills, the department was able to recruit and acclimate several new faculty this year, organize and hold many student and faculty-related events, and prepare schedules and course materials for the numerous courses offered in the Department of English. Carrie-Ann really misses a deadline. She is well informed on college procedures and protocols and works proactively to facilitate student and faculty research and scholarship activities. In addition to her work for the Department of English, she also is a student well on her way to completing her own baccalaureate degree. Carrie-Ann. The next award for service goes to Miguel Bernard in the IT department. Miguel has been at York since 2003, multitasks not only as IT assistant, producing photography, videos, managing the web, always doing it with a smile. He's described as the ultimate team player and a fine example of the proud York spirit. Miguel. And last but not least, a group award. A group award to the Department of Printing. K. Marshall, J. Brown, L. Ramnath, I. Cooley. And I'm going to invite President Keyes to say anything that she wants to say regarding the Department of Printing. Not a round of applause for the printing department.
Wherever I go, I really get spontaneous. It's really spontaneous praise for the work of the print shop. I really didn't sort of go out and say, well, who do you think we should give the group award to? The group award came forward because I just kept hearing in every corner of the college that the print shop does awesome work. You know, I sent them this, I didn't think they could get it done, and it was done. And by the way, they're doing all that, what is it, tricolor now? But the point is that it was so spontaneous that we thought we needed to recognize the team in the print shop for the work that they do. So thank you so much.
We're moving towards the end and the reception, the sumptuous reception that's outside. Can I invite you to all stand as Jonathan leads us in the singing of the Alma Mater? It's at the back of the program.
Hey. City University. So here we stand to pledge by your name to bring our college glory, honor, and fame. From all corners of the world, from our rich diversity, in our common quest for truth, we have formed a family. Though we may be far away, yet our hearts are ever near to the school we hold so dear. Hail York College, proudly we see York as a star of the City University. So here we stand to pledge by your name to bring our college glory, honor, and fame. Though the road was often rough, we worked hours late and long. When the going seemed too tough, we strove harder to be strong. Now we made it here at last. We can hold our head up high. We can spread our wings and fly. Hail York College, proudly we see York as the star of the City University. So here we stand, pledged by your name to bring our college glory, honor, and fame.
Please be seated. Thank you very much, Jonathan.